The Lakers and Hornets embroiled in a bizarre dispute over big man Mark Williams. It's a reverse custody situation where no one seems to want the talented but oft-injured center. Who is in the right here? Who's in the wrong? Where is all this headed? I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. So the Lakers and Hornets had a deal for big man Mark Williams. It was going to send Dalton Connect, the Lakers' 2031 pick, unprotected, and their 2030 pick swap to the Charlotte Hornets. Cam Reddish would also be in as salary ballast in the deal. And then big man Mark Williams would come back to LA and become the new lob threat target for Luka Doncic. However, the deal ultimately didn't go down. Here's what's happening right now. The Hornets are currently in contact with the NBA to explore options to dispute the Lakers' failed physical assessment of Mark Williams. The Williams-Dalton Connect trade was nixed on Saturday, and now the Hornets weigh avenues to challenge. This is somewhat unprecedented. This could change things for the NBA moving forward beyond just this trade. Remember, the Lakers just a few days ago announced that they had rescinded the trade. This was directly from the Lakers. The trade was rescinded for Mark Williams. It was later revealed that there were issues with Williams' physical. Now, the Hornets were not too pleased that this deal had been rescinded. I thought initially when it came out, I thought that the Lakers were overpaying for Mark Williams, but understood why they might do so given their need at the center position. Nonetheless, the Hornets put this out in response to information that was leaked about how the Hornets approached the Lakers about the trade. Obviously, this puts the Hornets in a tough situation. You don't want to be seen as the team that approached the other team trying to trade Mark Williams, especially now that Mark Williams is coming back. So the Hornets try to counter that by saying this: we're excited to welcome Mark back to our Hornets organization after the other team, I think it's funny, they won't even say it by name, aggressively pursued Mark. We made the difficult decision to move him. We have always held great respect for Mark's talent, work ethic, and character. We are thrilled to see him rejoin our roster as a dynamic presence at the starting center position. His return strengthens our team, and we look forward to the impact he will make on and off the court. So the Hornets making it sound like, oh, we're so relieved to get Mark Williams back. It was kind of funny to see this statement come out. And again, shortly on the heels of the word getting out that it was the Hornets who went to the Lakers and said, hey, we see you need a center. How about Mark Williams? Let's talk about this. And Luka Doncic had asked Rob Pelinka, the Lakers vice president of basketball operations, to get him a lob threat center. So it seemed like great timing for LA. Again, I thought they gave up a lot, but they had Mark Williams fall into their lap, and they were going to go ahead with the deal until they apparently found something that they did not like in Mark Williams' physical. As Ramona Shelburne noted, teams don't like to cancel trades, especially those as significant as this one, but LA gave up a lot to get Williams, and they needed to feel confident he'd be healthy enough to be their starting center for the next 5 to 10 years. And after a thorough evaluation of his health, they were not. So that's the key. That's the key in all of this, is that the Lakers are looking at the acquisition of Mark Williams as not just a guy who can play right now, which I think he can play right now. I don't expect him to be missing a bunch of games and suddenly injured. But the thinking is they need somebody that's going to be there for the long haul. That's what they're looking for. But now the Charlotte Hornets are saying, no, you guys messed up. You had no rightful reason to cancel this trade, and so they're disputing this. I think there are two very different sets of opinions here, and I think it's a very fascinating situation where both sides have a lot to lose, and then there's the question of what the NBA is going to do here. So on the Charlotte side, there's the contention that the Lakers got cold feet, that they simply had buyer's remorse and didn't want to do the deal, and so they made up something. They came up with something on his physical. Now, Mark Williams has a long history of injuries going all the way back to his time in college. If they really wanted to cancel the trade, yeah, they probably could find a reason in his medical history, or as well as projections for his medical future, why they might want to be done with the deal. That's the contention from the Charlotte side, that the Lakers have wronged them by canceling this trade and now put them in a difficult spot with Mark Williams, put them in a difficult spot just with the team in general after making a trade and then having to deal with the awkwardness of a player coming back. And now, is Mark Williams a diminished asset? Have they actually taken some of the value away, as other teams will look at him and say, well, the Lakers nixed this deal for a reason. we also aren't interested. So from the Hornets side, it's about proving that the Lakers have done you wrong, have done damage to your franchise and done damage to the reputation of a player on your team. That's what the Hornets are going to try to contend. From the Lakers side of things, they're going to say, no, look, we found X, Y, and Z in his physical. We're not comfortable with this. You might be comfortable with it, but we are not. We're not comfortable with this for his future. We gave up so much for him. We need to make sure that he is going to be a long-term piece for us, and we're not going to be dealing with a ticking time bomb situation here. And I think it's fascinating because both sides are risking so much here. You look at the Hornets side of things. Let's say the NBA opens an investigation. They go along with the Hornets' request here, and they open an investigation. Let's say that happens. Well, then Mark Williams' health is really going to be looked into. The league is going to be taking a look at his physical. Maybe some of that information gets out. That could be a challenging situation for the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets don't want to be seen as a team that sold a lemon to the Lakers effectively. That certainly won't help them in their bargaining position in future deals. So the Hornets are risking a lot here. If it turns out that there's a bunch wrong on Mark Williams' physical and that comes out, well, that's not going to be great, number one, for the value of Mark Williams, but it also might not be great for the negotiating power of the Charlotte Hornets. Our team's going to look at them and say, hey, that's that team that tried to pull a fast one on the Lakers and send him a guy that was not healthy. On the flip side, if the Lakers really did just get buyer's remorse in this situation, then, well, that doesn't look great for LA. I mean, teams would be very skeptical in any of their dealings with the Lakers moving forward. There's a lot to risk here for the Hornets to dispute this, but the Hornets already are dealing with a bit of negative feedback, right? Because now Mark Williams is seen as a guy that the Lakers did not want, and so that diminishes his value already. But the Hornets could be pushing it a bit more if they continue with this potential dispute here with the NBA. On the Lakers side of things, you would have to wonder, why would they get buyer's remorse? I mean, if they overpaid, and I do believe they overpaid, it wasn't that much. I mean, look, there are sources within the Lakers organization, I've heard from within the Lakers organization, that they believed it was an overpay, but they also admitted that they are all in, that this is what you have to do sometimes when you're all in. Maybe there's some concern about, do you have enough assets to bring in a second star alongside Luka after LeBron James retires? If you've given up this much future draft capital, I understand that that could be a concern as well for the Lakers. But think about the choice they'd be making. If for them to nullify this trade, they are making the choice to go through into the rest of the season, a season in which the team is really starting to gel, a season in which the team thinks they may have a shot at a title with just Jackson Hayes as the lone center on the regular roster. They've got a couple of guys on two-way contracts, but the Lakers, even if they overpaid a little bit, wouldn't that be preferable to spending the rest of LeBron's year 40 season or 40-year-old season as a team with just Jackson Hayes? Now, they might be able to pick up somebody on the buyout market, but it's not going to be a quality big. We're talking like an Alex Len or someone like that is probably what they'd wind up getting. Maybe it's Larry Nance Jr., but he did turn his ankle last night. Maybe it's a Daniel Tice if you can convince him not to go to Europe. I do think you read between the lines. You look at what happened with Alex Len, suddenly changing his mind about signing with the Pacers right when the Lakers job pops up. I have a feeling we know which way that's going. But nonetheless, we're not talking about a world beater's big man. I mean, certainly Mark Williams is far superior to anybody the Lakers are going to find out there on the buyout or the free agent markets. So why would the Lakers nullify this trade, even if they were overpaying a little bit? Wouldn't that be far preferable than having to tell LeBron, hey, you're 40, but we don't have a center for you aside from Jackson Hayes and maybe some guy we can get off of free agency right now? That isn't exactly an ideal scenario either. So why would the Lakers nix the trade, even if they felt like they overpaid a little bit? There's two sides to this where the Charlotte Hornets have no reason to contest this unless they strongly believe that they are in the right here. But similarly, the Lakers have no reason to void this trade unless they believe that Mark Williams is damaged goods and that it's going to be a problem moving forward with him, especially if you give him an extension this summer. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. Now the question becomes, for the NBA, what kind of precedent is set? And by the way, I did want to also note this was interesting. Dalton Knecht was considered probable to play in last night's Lakers game. Hours before, and then suddenly shifted to being ruled out. Very rare that you see someone move from being probable to play to being out. Very, very rare. You typically see guys move from questionable to probable to in, or questionable to doubtful to out. Usually you see that, or just questionable to in or out, right? You don't typically see a guy jump from probable to out. And head coach JJ Redick mentioned that he wanted to give Dalton Knecht time, that he's going through a whirlwind of emotions, had just flown in the night before, and all of that. And that may all be true, but still having this come out, and then to get the context of the Hornets potentially disputing the move, the Lakers' decision to nullify the trade, it might be nothing, but it might be something, right? That Mark Williams did not play. Cam Reddish did not play. He had real reason, had the birth of a child, no problem there, right? But then Dalton Knecht going from probable to play to suddenly out makes you wonder what actually is going on there. So for the NBA, now the questions will become, if the Hornets dispute this and they say, hey, the Lakers wronged us here, the Lakers made a mistake, they had no reason to nullify this trade, and if they can prove it, what does the league do? If they can prove it in Williams' physical, what does the league do? And what does this change moving forward? Could the league force the trade to go through? Could they say, nope, sorry, Lakers, you have to take Mark Williams, the pick and the pick swap, Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, it's all going to the Hornets, and there we go. We're stepping in and we're going to push this through. Maybe, I think more likely, we would see some type of punishment in terms of draft capital. That's what we've tended to see historically, not when this exact situation has come up, because this is very rare. But then it begs the question, what if this comes up again in the future? How is the NBA going to handle this? Do you need an independent medical panel to handle these situations where two teams disagree, as clearly the Hornets and Lakers do, over a player's physical report? Is that going to be a precedent that now gets set, that you have to have an independent review panel just in case of any dispute? The Lakers doctors, they reviewed the physical, and obviously they had issues with it. The Hornets doctors clearly don't have issues with his physical. Do you need an independent medical panel to make these kinds of decisions? And then what kind of precedent are we setting here? Is this a draft pick penalty if the Lakers are found to have nullified the trade simply because they got cold feet? Or does the NBA step in, and despite the fact that the trade deadline has already happened, does that cause the NBA to still push the trade through? And then do we potentially explore an even bigger change to the collective bargaining agreement and the way the trade deadline operates by saying, you know what, this rule doesn't make sense. Maybe we need to change this, because typically if the Lakers and Hornets had negotiated this deal in, let's say, December, well ahead of the trade deadline, what would happen is the Lakers would go back to the Hornets, say, hey, we saw X, Y, and Z on the physical. We don't like these things, so we need to lower what we're sending you. We're going to amend this. We're going to put protections on the pick. By the way, part of the reason why that 2031 pick for the Lakers had to be unprotected is because there's nothing for it to turn into. So if you're the Charlotte Hornets and you would allow the Lakers to put protections on the 2031 pick, again, you can only trade out so many years, then what would happen if those protections came into play? Let's say the Lakers protected the pick 1 through 5 in 2031, and the pick fell at 4th, the Hornets would get nothing. The protection would kick in, but it would not become like multiple seconds like we see in some other trades. The Hornets would be taking the gamble of either getting the pick or getting absolutely nothing. And that's why the Hornets, and I would imagine any team looking at that 2031 first, until the Lakers have access to 2032, would push for that pick to be unprotected. But so that would be a big gamble in and of itself. But the Lakers could have gone back to the Hornets and said, you know what? We don't like this this physical here. We're going to remove the pick swap. Could be something like that. Instead of Dalton Knecht, it's going to be Christian Wood and Cam Reddish because of this. That's happened. That's happened a few times in NBA history where something has popped up and a team has had to amend a trade and actually send a little bit less. But the Lakers and Hornets had no opportunity to do that because the trade deadline has passed. Is there a change in the rules that's needed where in this situation where there's a dispute over the physical, teams can then go back and renegotiate despite the fact that the trade deadline has gone by? Is that opening Pandora's box then, though, where teams would want to use that as a negotiating tactic, getting a trade done that they know the other side needs, and then disputing it with the physical in order to get a better deal? Now, that would probably cast a bad light on that team if they were doing it consistently. Teams would be hesitant to trade with them. but something the league would have to consider if they were making a rule change like that to allow teams after the trade deadline passes to still amend a trade. So it's going to be fascinating to see how the NBA handles this situation if Charlotte does indeed go ahead with this dispute. But let me ask you guys, who do you think is right here? Are the Hornets right that the Lakers just got cold feet and decided they didn't want to do the deal, that they had overpaid? Is that really what happened here? Or are the Lakers right? Were the Hornets trying to sell damaged goods in Mark Williams, and this is them just trying to save face, trying to grasp a little bit of value back by acting like they have to contest this and acting like the Lakers made a mistake with their physical? What's really going on with this situation? And again, how should the NBA respond if they do find that Mark Williams' physical is okay? Should the Lakers lose draft capital? Should the trade be pushed through? This is gonna set precedent for a number of things that could change the trade market now for years to come around the NBA. All right, everybody, a lot to pay attention to in this situation, a lot to keep an eye on. I hope I was able to break everything down for you here in a way it was understandable and concise enough, I suppose, to get into this whole situation, because it is a complicated one. But give me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe right here to the channel. Till next time, see ya and stay safe.